Hi everybody, Carol Mahoney, just coming off of our weekly live sales lab where we were talking about how to communicate with people to build trust. The idea of being able to pick up on the clues and cues that people give us about their communication style and adapt that to change your own communication style can seem a little insincere to some people. So, it's like you're not really being true to who you really are, as some have said. Now, this came up on today's live sales lab, so let's address that first. It wouldn't be the first time, and it's certainly not going to be the last time that I've heard this. The intent here, though, is to listen and focus in on the other person so that you can effectively communicate trust. It's a necessary skill to be able to build relationships and be successful. Now, I first came across the psychological assessments like DISC profiling and Myers-Briggs when I went back to college as an adult. I took accelerated classes. It was the only way that I was going to get 2 degrees in less than 4 years. And my first accelerated class was a biology class. And our first homework assignment was to go and take a DISC personality assessment and a Myers-Briggs assessment and then come back to class the next week with our results. A lot of people in the class were really excited about what this said about them and how the class was going to help them to use this information. One student even asked our professor while he was going through it, "So how are you going to use this to help teach us better?" And he stopped and he looked at it and he said, "Well, this isn't for me. This is for you. See, I'm one teacher and you're 30 students. This is for you to become aware of what your communication styles are and what your personality traits are and how that's going to work in this class with this syllabus and my teaching style." In other words, I'm not going to change my style for 30 different people. 30 different people are going to figure out how to change their style to coincide with my teaching and communication style. And I don't remember anything else from that biology class, but I remember this one lesson, that if I could understand how my professors communicated and how they saw the world, then I could adapt what I knew about my own style to be more in line with theirs so that I could have a better experience in the school. And it was really helpful for me to be successful in college. It was even more helpful for me when I was tutoring some of my peers. So how do we apply this in the sales context? It's really about not changing or pretending who you are is something that you aren't. It's about being aware and adapting to the environment that you're in. But it's about more than that. It's about putting others first. It's about going into your sales conversations with the understanding that it's not about me. As Robin Dreig, the counterintelligence expert and author of The Code of Trust, wrote in his book, you cannot deal with people effectively unless you can see how they see the world. So to build trust, do not treat people the way that you want to be treated because it's not about you. Speak to and treat people in the way that they want to be spoken to. So you see, building trust is first about being trustworthy, obviously. But second, being able to communicate in a way that inspires trust. Which brings us to the next question that got brought up on the live sales today, which was, no one trusts salespeople and no one wants to talk to salespeople, which is true. But my hypothesis is that the reason for that is because that most salespeople are talking all about themselves in a way that they are comfortable with, regardless of who they're talking to. So how do you start changing that? First, as with any change in behavior, you have to develop awareness. So here's what I did. After college, and I opened my first grown-up business because lemonade stands and babysitting jobs didn't count, I went through some DISC training and I would carry around this small business card size brochure of the DISC profiles. And before every networking event that I went to, and I went to 2 or 3 a week, I would sit in my car and I would read through the DISC profiles, and I would go into the networking event with the object of trying to identify what other people's styles were and seeing if I could communicate and talk with them in a way that was able to build up the rapport easy, collect more business cards, have more conversations with people afterwards. And after a few years of doing this, I then translated that into going into more virtual communications. Now, it was a little bit harder because I wasn't face-to-face with people, but I was able to, based on how they spoke or the words that they used in their emails, or even how they described themselves in their social media profiles, get an understanding and an idea of what is their style, what's their personality style, and what in their personality style and communication style is something that I can speak to or adapt to. So here's the point. You can easily become aware and practice and test on everyone around you. Now, if you're like one of the people on today's Live Sales Lab who said, okay, so how come is it I can do this with other people around me? I can have these kinds of conversations. I can identify how they want to be spoken to and do that. But when I get into a sales call, it's totally different. I act totally different. Here's what to remember. You have to remember that context is king. And that's where some of these personality tests fall short. Context. How you behave in social situations and sales situations may be totally different depending on whether or not you have certain strengths. So for example, if you get excited or emotionally involved in the outcome of a sales conversation that you're having, you're not able to be as present as you normally would. So you're missing out on those important clues and cues that tell you what someone's communication style is. You're missing out on buyers telling you how they want to be spoken to. Or it could be something like your need for a prospect to like you or see you as really smart is getting in the way of asking the questions that you know you should, but just can't seem to in the moment you need to. So here's my $100 tip for you. First, create your own awareness by getting a DISC assessment or Myers-Briggs. Read up on what it means. See if you can identify it in others around you. Practice changing up how you speak to others based on their style. Oh, and definitely buy Robin Dreek's book. Read what he says about direct and indirect communicators, as well as task or people-oriented communicators. It'll help you to understand those around you more fully so that you can speak to them in a way that they want to be spoken to. And if you're still having trouble in those sales situations, then book a time on my calendar and we can talk about that. But join me for the next Live Sales Lab on June 26th. We're going to talk about how to break up with a prospect. When it's time, how do you do it? What's the best way? So until then, have fun out there.